Hey, yo, hosters, Midbone here, and we are on air. Yes, we had some minor issue about that. So we are with Jenny, of course, who is on location in Albany instead of her normal house. So that's great. We also have Scarlett is with us as well. This is her first time, and return of a girl or Alanis, and
Hello.
Brittany, and
Hey.
Kaden.
Hi.
And we are talking about our various transition goals, and how we basically will see ourselves once we consider our transitions to be complete. So,
Anyone
is-
ever consider their transition complete?
Oh, what do you mean by complete? Because
Yeah, because
I don't know. Maybe I would think it is once I get there, but I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of like, if you're talking about HRT, well, I've only been on it for like a few months now, like almost 4 months.
yeah, like I'm talking about, like how you would
And
be.
social transitions, and there's
Uh,
also social transition. It's like
mm-hmm.
that's not
Yeah.
out to anyone, and I'm not out to necessarily everyone, and I'm still like trying around different looks on, see what looks good for I guess the feminine non-binary aesthetic I want.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll be a little more specific and say, how would you like to be ideally in, like,
Yeah.
how would you like to be ideally? What would your ideal self, if you could have everything that you could have? Where would you be in however
Robotic.
long it takes? Am I roboting?
No, I would be a robot.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean within
A cyborg would
the-
be awesome.
Yes.
I'd be happy in 20 years' time to be able to be offered a cyborg body, so I could just live for another couple of hundred years, and that's just fucking awesome.
Okay, I would rather like some sort of unaging
Realistic one.
biological body because yeah, well, cyborgs don't have non-binary girl dicks, so
They can,
You
but
can make
cyborgs
one.
can have anything.
I've watched these YouTuber makers, and they make all this stuff. I'm sure if you gave them the right specifics, they'd have a video up for you. And
You can
okay.
have any bits you want. You could even have bits that nobody's even thought of.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I do have
that's
something though. So for me, I do feel like my transition is for the most part complete. When I first started the process, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to have bottom surgery, top surgery. I'm gonna have to have my face redone, FFS. But as I've gone on in the process, and I've been on HRT for years, most of my genital dysphoria has faded away because what is there no longer functions in a way that could be considered male. Now, just for reference, I have Klinefelter syndrome, so my body never was entirely male to begin with. But
Okay.
as I've been on HRT, it's changed and it's softened and it's come more into line with what I would want. So bottom surgery for me is no longer a big pressing thing. My facial surgery, I mean, I still have days where I think I look like a man, but then I look in the mirror and objectively I can tell that I pretty much don't. Other people tell me I don't. So if you asked me 2 years ago if I wanted FFS, I would be like, absolutely yes, under any circumstance. But now it's like, as long as I'm not seeing a man in the mirror, I can live with it. My face doesn't have to be the most feminine thing in the world. Especially since I'm agender myself. I'm non-binary, I use they them pronoun. And as long as I'm not seeing that man in the mirror, as long as it isn't torturing me anymore with dysphoria, seeing a face I don't recognize, I can live with the way I am. So at this point, my transition may well be complete. I might decide 5 years down the road to have, bottom surgery and FFS, but honestly, at this point, it's not pressing, and because it's so expensive, I would much rather put that money into some fun adventure travel than into, having surgery.
Okay, yeah. I have a lot more that I would like if I could get facial feminization covered somehow. I would get it, but on the other hand, it's not a huge deal for me, and that's you can't ever really see it. But I've got a cyst that's like that big sitting right there, and it's really annoying. And I really want it gone badly, but it's most likely warped the bone under it, so I'm going to need some reconstructive surgery anyways if I get rid of it. So it's like, can you fix this a bit, and can you move these up here and bring this down here while you're at it, please? But it's not really a huge deal for me. It's more of a minor nuisance. That's on top of a major nuisance. So facial feminization surgery, I mean, I'm doing pretty good without it, so.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of it isn't really covered. I heard that some places will like only cover like SRS bottom surgery and not really cover like FS, which I think if you really cared about passing, that would probably be more important on an everyday basis.
I don't
Yeah.
think I
Absolutely.
facial
Like-
surgery, but I'm overweight. If I'd like to lose weight, and who knows, once I get thinner, how it would look different, and maybe I would end up
Yeah,
euphoric.
it would. Like I remember losing some weight. I was like overweight years ago, and some people I was like, oh, you look different after losing weight, and I was like well, I was still in high school, going into university, like first year of my university, I made an effort to lose weight. I ended up losing like 50 pounds, of course that year. So after my first year of college, I lost that amount of weight.
For
And
me, sorry,
yeah,
finish.
and even then, like I know it's just sort of like softened up. I think there's like I'm starting to notice the beginning of it with the face fat redistribution, and that leads me to like I think you're like on HRT for the rest of your life, which is like whatever. Like I don't know when I'm ever gonna like, cause I'm like on a bunch of medication anyway for like anxiety and depression anyway. So I don't know when you discontinue that. So whatever. And it's just, I think I would say it outright is that I think I would consider my transition to be complete is when nobody misgenders me at all. Like they see me as non-binary. If I can get that across, because some situations I have some people like try to put me into either like the man or woman box. And I'm just like, nah.
I know how you feel, Brittany. I honestly do, because I will never pass as non-binary, and some of that is because of the way that I present. I present in a very feminine way, which people will read as female, but also just it doesn't matter what I do. People will always put me into one box or the other. And on my way home from hiking, I called a Lyft to get home, and the person kept calling me a lady and a girl, and it just felt uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
at the same time, at least with my transition goals, I would rather be called she than he. I would rather
Exactly.
be seen female than male.
Exactly. I primarily use they them pronouns, but I'm absolutely fine with she her pronouns. But someone told me it's like, oh, you're 100% a girl, and I'm just like, that still rubbed me the wrong way. It's like that's technically still misgendering.
Yeah,
But
Exactly.
That still comes down to a question of what is a boy and what is a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
really good. A good question. I mean, I use she her pronouns. I prefer she her pronouns. if I'm presenting as a guy, I expect people to use he, him pronouns, and I'm perfectly fine with it at that. And I'm generally usually pretty empathetic to pronouns. The only people I really get on are my parents.
Yeah.
Those are the only people who I really get on to actually use she, her pronouns. For me.
And the people that kick up stink about
They
it.
should-
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's because I know that like they kind of need the nudging to go that way. And there is kind of there is kind of a, you know, I generally want to be seen more as a feminine person, so I don't need people using he him pronouns for me in public unless I'm going in boy mode, which I apparently can't do anymore.
Male
Okay, you-
failing.
I know how you feel.
I've
Um,
considered just learning sign language because I don't think anyone's ever going to not
Oi.
misgender me if they don't hear my voice. You know.
Oh yeah, the voice.
Yeah, and Alanis, when I hear
I-
you, I hear a woman. I don't hear a man.
same
Because
here.
you're seeing my face. If you hadn't seen my face and you'd gotten a call from me, you'd get, sir.
Had you said your,
Yeah, the
your
phones
name,
are
I would have
different.
used him.
I mean,
Still get him with my name.
I expect that, but I don't get it. Like I am male failing all the time, so
Yeah, the only time I really get called, I think being on hormones for now, it's like I think I'm starting to like get misgendered less. Like the only time I really get misgendered is if my parents slip up, or if I'm on the phone. Right now I'm trying to sound as deep as I can, but there's gonna be a time where I just slip right back and
My thing is
Yeah.
ignore the phone shit. Because you got to remember, half the time when you're talking to people who are going to misgender you on the phone, you're not talking to somebody in your own country. You're talking to somebody with a language barrier as well, and with a different idea of what sounds masculine and feminine on the phone. And they will usually just default to assuming the person on the other end of the phone is male if they are not sure.
I don't know because
Exactly.
I've worked in 3 call centers.
Mhm.
None
Yeah,
of
but you're
them
talking
within the
about
last.
Canadian one. Quite often these days, if you phone a call center, you're going to go through to India or Singapore or somewhere like that.
Right.
Yeah, or you'll go to Canada because that's where we were. We actually cover a lot of the U.S. too, because apparently Canadian call center people are way better than Americans.
Probably cheaper
Because y'all are
too.
so polite.
Yeah, eh?
They're so
But they
apologetic.
swear like brickers.
But yeah, I mail failed and a whole lot, and if people didn't get my name, there would be a good chance that they would use she her, and that was like the last time I worked in a call center was probably 5 or 6 years ago. So, it's not like, yeah, you can ignore people on the phone, because.
Well, it
And
Get
I
the
would
bit-
always be talking up like this though because I wanted to sound happy so that people would be happy because I'm
Right.
trying to help people. So I would actually talk up a bit. So I probably sounded more feminine, just using a
Yeah.
higher pitch.
the
I'm
phone
happy.
isn't as hard for me as the restroom because I'll never talk in the restroom because I'm always worried someone's going to hear me talk, and it'll be someone in the stall, so they won't see me, and they're going to think there's a guy here.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
so sorry
yeah.
about that.
And so I'll go with friends who will be talking, and they'll start talking while we're in the restroom, and I'll just be like,
I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
imagine that really being a problem for you.
oh, every day. I work on the phone every day, and I get sir all the time.
Really?
Wow. I'm sorry about that. Like, for me,
Yeah.
and the thing about sore on the phone is that it happens even to cis women. My
Yeah.
mom gets sore on the phone, and she is 100% cis,
Mhm.
evangelical Christian, all of
Because
that.
phone quality is generally shit and it
Yeah.
cuts out frequencies.
Yeah,
And
but I totally get the feel because, I mean, I get misgendered all the time on the phone, but usually not as male. And the problem I have, like, people don't believe my name because they see it as an exclusively boy name, even though it's neutral, and they don't hear me as male. But that problem pales into comparison to like going into the women's room and being afraid of a violent reaction because
Yeah,
your voice
you don't have to worry about violence on the phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like-
I'm still a little bit.
Restrooms. Yeah.
I'm
One thing with restrooms is that it's like a lot of me and some of my non-binary friends say that we can be at a loss sometimes with them.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I've been using the women's room more often than men's room because I've been dressing more feminine. So I feel like I would look weird in the men's room too, but
Mhm.
I know
it's like make a call. The only time I ever used the men's room recently was either like the women's room was full or ran out of like toilet paper or soap.
Yeah, I've done that.
yeah.
Like I honestly don't care what restroom I'm in. That's not a big deal for me.
Yeah.
It's
Like if I had to choose, I know which one to choose, but ideally I try to find a unisex one or a family
Yeah.
room because they're not really gendered and I can just go into them and not feel any problem. Or I try to like go at home before I leave.
Same. Like I don't use public bathrooms if I can avoid it, but you know, at first I used to alternate between the men's and the women's, but with me looking the way I do, despite being assigned male at both, I've literally been kicked out of the men's room. So I've basically just consigned myself to using the women's if I have to make that binary choice. But I prefer not to go into either because I'm agender. My identity is neither male nor female. So I feel most comfortable in a gender neutral bathroom. So I know how that feels.
Yeah. I think every like around like I think every Starbucks I've been into has unisex restrooms, so that's good.
The
If
one
you-
near me doesn't.
Yeah. Well, the one I guess it's in my area maybe.
The ones down
But-
here
Yeah.
don't.
I honestly
Toilets are gender neutral as well. So
yeah, I honestly prefer, but like I would not feel I would feel too awkward going into it looking like this. So I
Yeah.
just default to the woman's now.
I think I was one time I was
No,
at
no,
a pub
okay.
and
Hang on a
they
minute.
both had gender neutral restrooms, and I think they might have been previously gendered and they made them gender neutral, which was good because one of them had a urinal in it.
Okay, I would use that one.
Yeah.
No, men's rooms are not nasty, okay? Both are nasty. I'm a janitor.
Yeah.
I clean toilets for a living. Trust me.
The worst one I've ever had to clean was a women's restroom.
I've never seen blood on a toilet in the men's room.
No.
True.
People with vaginas, if you're going...
That's disgusting.
Hey, people with vaginas, if you're gonna hover, if you're not going to have your ass firmly planted on the seat, lift it. That's all I have to say. Doesn't matter how you're peeing, okay? If you're not going to be sitting on the seat with your butt skin touching the seat, lift the seat. Okay, I swear, I clean more pee off the woman's toilets at work than the men's.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah,
all I
I
have to say.
I worked at a grocery store for 10 years. That was 24 hours. I am not going to tell you how bad those bathrooms got.
Oh, that's the easy stuff, okay? That's the easy stuff.
No. No.
Pee on the toilet seats is the easy stuff.
Yeah, we had a lot worse.
Oh yes, we've had quite a bit worse. Yeah, and most of our customer base are elderly because all so
incontinence!
yeah.
Yay!
It's the worst part of my job, even though it's one of the quickest to get done.
Did they try and flush their depends? Do they?
No one's trying to do
Do we
that.
actually do that?
No.
You're
No,
not
they leave
supposed
them.
to.
They leave them in the sanitary napkin bins.
Oh. I remember the first time I went to clean the restroom at my work and I saw those bins. I was like, why all the girls get trash cans in their bathrooms and we don't? And then I went to empty. I was like, oh, duh.
So, so yeah, like I'm not even sure where I am on this.
What peeing?
Like,
Yeah.
well, no, I stand to pee.
I'm very pro
Okay,
pee.
and
I do as well. The only time I never really stood to pee is like if I'm like in like the multi-stall rooms.
oh fuck that, I still stand. I actually have a hard time.
Yeah.
Probably TMI, but I actually have a hard time peeing while I'm sitting. So I kind of only have that option. Things don't entirely drain properly.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
easy.
to-
It's easier to do that.
Thanks to hormonal shrinkage, I don't have much good of chance at standing while peeing now.
I have never stood while peeing. Like even before, like pre everything, I've always sat down because
I
obviously
couldn't stand to pee.
I couldn't. And being born intersex, it wouldn't have worked anyway. I mean, I'm sorry if that's TMI, but
No, I
Yeah.
totally
Oh.
understand. I pre-surgery I didn't stand to pee either, so
But
it's too hard.
yeah, like it doesn't matter how you pee. Like I go into women's and I stand, and I'll, if anyone has a problem with it, I'll just suck my non-binary girl dick.
That's,
Well, it's not really
So-
a problem in the women's because you've got individual stalls.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah,
This is
so
why I
Yeah.
don't
and you
understand.
live
I'll
in
just-
I don't-
Canada.
I
I
feel
don't
like-
understand the bathroom argument at all because
Yeah.
they're independent stalls.
In my city, in Ogden, Utah, it is illegal for someone to use a bathroom other than the one belonging to their legal sex. Here, the only reason people make a big deal is, well, the Mormon Church teaches this, Jesus teaches this, my dad
Oh, the
taught that
Mormon
when I was a
Church.
kid. It's just religious bigotry.
It's
like
the
Mm.
moron
religious-
church.
I have one thing to say to that. Galatians 3:28.
Yep.
What? You have to remind us, man.
Blah blah blah. There is no man or woman or male or female or whatever other bullshit
Exactly.
in the eyes of Jesus. Everyone is
Ah,
a thing. Whatever. I can't
But they
remember
draw
the
that
exact
line.
it. But yeah, it basically is something that you can tell them that they will just completely walk around and ignore because
Yeah,
they think
they'll
they
say-
Reasons.
Jesus
Oh,
says
they
what
don't.
they say. Jesus
They'll be
says
like,
what
"Oh
they
my
say
God."
Jesus says.
yeah.
But
I
still.
mean, it is what it is. I'm not.
Jesus didn't say anything. He was fictitious.
Agreed. But
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely I'd
My
say there's
answer-
like difference between Jesus, the legend, and then Yeshua ben Yosef, the man.
Okay,
Exactly.
I just want to point out what
There
Lizzie
probably
Beth,
might have been.
I just want to point
but-
out what Lizzie Beth just said in the chat. My answer is Bible ed. Oh.
I'd rather say,
Exactly.
give me your Bible and I'll pee on it.
Like maybe in Canada though, like if they saw a woman standing up to pee, it wouldn't be a big deal. Like, oh, it's a trans woman, it's okay. In Utah, like even in the liberal, part of Utah, like Salt Lake City, Park City, places like that, they would lose their mind. They honestly would.
Yeah,
And
I can see
It's sad,
that.
but it's just the way things are here. I'm trying to educate people. There are some other people here who want to educate and who want to help make this place more inclusive. But right now, it just isn't there.
I honestly have no idea how you educate a Mormon, considering what they believe.
Some of the Mormons are interesting. Like the ones around here aren't really all that bad. The-
Yeah, but Joseph Smith was a convicted con man, and they still believe him.
Dum,
And-
dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, and like we could go on with a whole bunch of shit with that, but the Mormons here are pretty tame. That's all I have to say.
Well,
Okay, I
that's
have a
not
friend
how it
who
is
is actually
now.
made. married to one, but everyone here pretty much is going to be more tame than their uh what's the word I'm looking for?
American
Their,
counterpart.
yeah, counterparts in the States is what I was gonna say. I had a complete brain fart there for a minute.
Though
So
I'd
yeah,
say the worst ones would have. They're actually something worse. The Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh yeah.
they're
Yeah,
they're
shunning is a horrible
annoying.
thing.
They're annoying. But to bring it back to the topic,
Yeah.
what? Okay, you said that you wanted to be seen as non-binary, Brittany. So what you like? What would you do to be seen as non-binary? Like, what does being seen not as non-binary mean to you? Just I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah, I just rather not have not many people forcibly gender me all the time and just use my pronouns and just recognize it. I think the biggest struggle is that it's not really widely recognized yet.
Mhm.
That's part of it too. So I have to like tell people what it even is
Yeah.
before I can give them like a internalized sense of it. So
I know how you feel.
it's
Okay.
part of it's like I'm building a house and I have to find the materials for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, part of the reason that I use she her pronouns and I haven't gone looking for like some neo pronouns that people have been using for people who would have an identity similar to mine is pretty much because I just want to make my life easy and simple. So, and I'm pretty apathetic to pronouns to begin with. So it's like I will just go with she her because that is easiest for me. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really care. But so you just want people to more understand that not like us non-binary people are actually uh you know are actually not a man or a woman,
Yeah.
or at
Exactly.
least not like,
Get that recognized for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
A
okay.
lot of
I feel the
people
same way.
yeah.
I honestly feel the same way because I know that I don't pass the non-binary, and I know that realistically, unless you're like within a very specific range of presentation, like you have boobs and a beard and you're wearing a dress, you aren't going to be seen as non-binary by most people. But I wish that I could go out and get read as non-binary and have people use, gender neutral honorifics and gender neutral pronouns, and to just have people treat me like my actual gender. That would be so awesome. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, they just don't. And even when I wear, pronoun pins like this one that explicitly says they, them, theirs, I still get misgendered because the way that I look, people read as binary, and there just isn't much I can do about it. So I've kind of shifted from I need to be seen as non-binary to I just want to be myself and I just want to present it in a way that makes me happy.
Yeah,
And
that's
presenting like this makes me happy, even though it's considered feminine, and I don't identify as feminine. It still makes me happy. It makes me feel cute. It makes me feel confident.
well
It
you're
makes me feel like myself. So
In a
that's it.
way.
well
Yeah,
your
in a way.
presentation isn't necessarily tied to your identity.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So like we can say that something is feminine or masculine. That doesn't mean that only feminine or masculine people,
Yeah.
or
There are
androgynous. That doesn't mean that only feminine or masculine people have to, present that way. And
yeah.
Mhm.
I am kind of in the, um, I just want to be seen as myself, and I don't overly care about, um, the finer details, and that seems to be going my way at least. So there's
I
that
mean,
now.
at the end of the day, I'd rather not, I just don't want to be seen as male, the assigned gender I was, because that's just not, that's what I'm trying to escape. So in a way, I'm like, I'll take acceptance as a woman, even though I'm not a woman, but ultimately would prefer, actually, not just prefer, would really like acceptance as non-binary.
Same.
Although one thing I really like is this, I don't like I definitely prefer to be called ma'am over sir, or like lady over gentleman. Like, but I try to get people to say like, oh, like I'm not Mr. my last name, but I'm Mix MX.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I use MX too, and people just think it's a typo, or they'll just like, MX. Did you just mispronounce Miss, or did you mispronounce Mr.? And I'm like, no, I mean Mix. I'm non-binary. And they're like,
Mhm.
what even is that?
Yeah, not a
And
lot
I
of
feel
people.
like what makes us uncomfortable, or at least what makes me uncomfortable, is the fact that our society is so binary that we really have to work so hard to get outside of those expectations. Go ahead, Whitney.
Yeah, it's like it feels like how like people socially transition. Like, if you're a binary trans person, you do have a framework to go into to reintegrate yourself into.
We definitely have an advantage.
Yeah, yeah, it's like I think like some other like I mean like hearing on like some like trans YouTubers describing their experiences to transition. Like, I think they're all like trans women anyway, mostly trans women or sometimes trans men,
Yeah.
saying that they just have this. And even when they do talk about non-binary, there's like it's like, oh, they're making their own world. That's what they
Yeah.
say. Like, we're making our own world.
Exactly. Or
Whereas,
I heard people say like, "Oh, you're just off on a gender adventure," and I'm like, I mean, as much as I love adventure, I don't see this as an adventure. I just see this as being myself, and I don't see it as me blazing this trail or making some new way. I'm just being Kaden. At the end of the day, I'm just being myself. And the fact that it's seen as some novelty, some new thing, and it's just difficult in a lot of ways. And I don't know if you find it that way, Whitney, but I definitely do.
yeah, I think one thing is like I when I explain it to people, it's just I think my parents can like understand like a specific definition of non-binary of like only being like agender or genderless, and like neither seems to be like one way to do it that's different. But even so, I'm just saying like I do have a slight alignment, but even so, I think recognition as non-binary is more important. I mean, I'll take compromises. Sometimes you might not get what you want, but you get something you need in a
Yeah,
way. Like, I need not to be seen as my assigned gender.
same.
If I feel like I had any comfort with it, I like sure like some masculine non-binary people, amab non-binary people do exist, but that's not who I am. But even
Same.
so, like even the ideas like masculinity and femininity are more of presentation wise. Just slap the old gender non-conforming stuff on that and go your own way. Just be free.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I think that I'm really a like very rare in this, in that I don't care what gender people see me as long as people, I guess, see me as a gender. Which one it is, I don't care. So the whole thing about me is just more being comfortable with myself. Uh, not just my body, but being able to express myself and present however I want, um, which is kind of a big thing for me. much more than I guess at least as much as what the hormones are doing for me, for the most part. But yeah, I think that I have a advantage that I don't care if people see me as my as one of my genders or the other. So I think that's kind of
How many genders do you have, May?
2.
But you're non-binary as well, so 3.
Actually, I'm bigender, okay, which is a
Okay.
composite gender, and non-binary is generally an umbrella term that includes non-binary. It can be used as its own standalone gender, but it's an umbrella term that
Right.
means pretty much anything that isn't vanilla male or female.
Exactly.
So I have 2 genders, or I have a composite gender that is composed of 2 genders.
Hmm.
So I have 2 genders.
Whereas for me,
I wasn't being funny. It was a legitimate question from my point of view because
Okay.
you know how my brain works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to me, it's all definitions, right? We can say that I'm an extremely gender non-conforming trans woman, and I wouldn't care if someone tried to describe me like that either, because to me, all these labels are just people trying to communicate how they see themselves to people. And for me, I take a close enough is good enough approach, at least to myself. So like there are dozens of different ways that you could describe me. I just have I just for whatever reason have taken a liking to bigender, basically.
And you also have 0 facts to give.
Can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, Kaden.
So, I mean, I take non-binary as an umbrella term, but my specific identity is agender. And what that means is that I have no gender identity. I have 0% male, 0% female, and 100% just me, just a person. It does give me more dysphoria to be seen as male than female. I'm not sure why. It's probably because I was raised as a boy, and so because I've had so much of that rammed down my throat, I'm really uncomfortable with it, and I'm really sick of it. But I have no male identity, no female identity, and being gendered as either binary gender, being called a woman, being called a lady, being called a man, a gentleman, they both give me dysphoria. They both make me uncomfortable. But in this society, I realize that strangers will never see me as agender. So what I'm hoping for is for my friends and my co-workers and my family to accept me as agender. And, you know, strangers can call me whatever, hopefully not male, but whatever.
I don't see how anyone could ever call you male pronouns, like,
Yeah.
ever.
I mean, I get that. I mean, when I deliberately present in a masculine way, I do occasionally get called
Okay.
male, but on a day-to-day basis, no, I don't get gendered as a man, and I'm not complaining about that. But every time someone tells me, "Oh, you're a pretty lady," you're, you know, miss this, ma'am, that, I feel this kind of clenching in my chest. Like, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
I'm genderless. And, like, to answer Jenny's question, is that non-binary is just such a big term that people have different experiences within it and different, you know, understandings of it. Like, if someone tried to call me a trans woman, I would be like, no, no, no. Not because there was anything wrong with being a trans woman, but just because I'm not.
Because you're not a woman.
If someone called me a guy, I would be no, and it's not because there's anything wrong with being a guy. Well, maybe, but no. But I'm not a guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I am. But I'm a woman too, so. Hey, what's up?
Yeah,
So
I just rather I just have like some at worst I view like any kind of womanhood as like the lesser evil in terms of like binary getting called a binary gender
Mm-hmm.
at worst. Sometimes I'm like I'm fine if I'm like I'm close enough, so whatever.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like similar problems. Like I do have genders and or I guess genders because it's like I have like my specific labels because some days I'm just like oh I just feel pretty androgynous identity wise, but then sometimes it's just like oh I'm like kind of a girl but not really like non-binary girl or androgyne is what I usually feel like.
Yeah. For me, I always feel genderless, but there are days that I feel, and this is hard to explain because we kind of have to separate masculine from male
Mm-hmm.
and feminine from female if we
Mm-hmm.
want this to make any sense. So there are some days that I feel slightly masculine or slightly feminine.
Mm-hmm.
But I never feel male or female. Like today, even though I'm presenting like this, more I'm feeling slightly masculine. And on I usually present the opposite of how I feel. Whereas
okay.
like if I'm feeling more masculine, I put on makeup and all that. If I'm feeling more feminine, I have a bare face. I always like dress feminine though because it just makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
But there are days when I do feel slightly masculine, I'm gonna present femininely because I like that balance and that juxtaposition. And
Yeah,
same
that
thing
makes
for yeah,
that's perfect sense. I
yeah,
fully understand that.
yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I just want to like look like a gender non-conforming girl, like mask girl sometimes. Like if I
Mhm,
can perform masculinity in a non-male way,
mhm.
that's the reason why I'm like kind of present more feminine, so people won't see me as male.
Right. And for me,
And I kind of
I
do like it anyway. So even if
I do like it.
I were on a desert island, I'd still would dress this way.
Same here. And
Same here.
I would say that me presenting this way, it started to get people to stop seeing me as male, but
Mhm.
I've stuck with it because I just like it. And even on my feminine days when I want to present less femininely, I still dress in a way that our society would easily identify as female just because it makes me happy. But yeah, like it's all so complicated, and my only problem comes when people want to take it and apply a strict binary to it
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it really erases me and it erases a lot of people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I'm because I'm in the position of basically being non-binary in a way that, I have two binary genders, and sometimes I call it super binary just to be a nerd. But um, because it's a superposition, not being neither.
It's just fuzzy logic, that's all.
I've also said that I've also said things like gender is binary, but it's not Boolean, which is pretty much the same thing as saying gender is not binary. Different way of saying it. Because it's not one or the other. If it's or Boolean means that you're only one or the other. Binary means just that there's two ends to it. So
Yeah,
you can see it like that, and I'm at both ends of that.
like you
This
said, you're a qubit.
yeah. So like I'm I, that's one of the reasons why I'm more okay with like binary stuff around, because it's like okay, yeah, it still applies to me in some way, right? So
Whereas
um
it doesn't apply to me at all. So
no, but I'm becoming more aware of that. Because again, to me, it's all just labels. It's all just descriptions. It's all just labels. Pronouns
mhm.
are just a description of me. So if I'm trying to present feminine and people are using she, her pronouns, that's just telling me that I'm doing a good job of presenting or masculine or whatever. That's just an indication to me that I'm pulling off whatever gender I'm trying to pull off.
There's a joke there, but I'm not touching
it. I'm sure. We haven't heard much from you, Scarlett.
I tend to be the silent one. That's the thing.
Okay.
So, right. The perfect one, and this would take some, Google research or whatever. The lead singer of September Morning, Emily Lazar. If you take a look at like her modeling page or whatever, that would kind of be what my dream end goal would be. Granted, chances are she's had some heavily Photoshop as well as, surgical intervention done. Fully understand that. However, I mean, if I could get to the point where it's more looking kind of more similar to my sisters, oh, you still look so much like your dad. Okay, fine, whatever. Some daughters look like their dads, some sons look like their mother.
Yeah.
It's whatever, but
I've
always the things that I'm kind of looking for in the end of this is to the point of, I do fit into the binary to hear, ma'am instead of sir. I'm one of the officer people. I had those pretty little bars on my collar at work, and it's, at work in the back of the ambulance. Oh, sir, I'm sorry, sir. Da, 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 da. It's like,
Yeah.
ma'am, that'd be great, thanks. But, do I correct it? No, because at the moment, I'm a little concerned about something different at that point. But to me, it's, one of those where, like, the first time I actually went out, and here's a little backstory on it. So, have a friend down in Florida who came up to see in this moment, and we went out the night before to downtown Minneapolis. Went to one of the bars there, and I was fully presented female, had a wig on because obviously, in case you can't tell, it's a little thanks male hormones. But some guy walked by after. I was like, no, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. And he was like, hey, can I get a smoke? And, I gave him one. And he was like, thank you, ladies. And I pretty much cried on the ride back to the hotel because it was like, oh my God, someone finally gendered me correctly.
Nice.
I was at some show type thing with a trainee, and someone said, morning, ladies. And it was one of those where it was like, I'm in full uniform. All right. You don't get much more unisex than, a pretty much police type shirt. Not the same color, but, that and pants. Like, there is no difference between the two, but from a distance, the person was like, morning, ladies. And it's like, thank you. So, I mean, my ideal would be to be considered, from that distance at least, enough to where people are giving me that, female pronoun type stuff. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would like to have surgery. I don't know if it ever will because of my weight and money. I'd like to look like ContraPoints, but that one I know will never happen.
I really like. Speaking of her, like I really like one of her latest videos, like featuring like one of my characters, like had like a glitter beard on, and I got like a big inspiration to like I want to do a glitter beard now. Thanks, thanks Natalie for playing Baltimore. Like that's what's there.
Yes.
I haven't watched her last 2 videos because I love watching her. I love what she speaks, but then afterwards I feel I compare myself too much to her to the point
Yeah.
it makes me depressed after watching one of her videos.
I mean, yeah, she's really got like cultivated her own aesthetic by now for sure. Especially like post FFS, there's like some difference, but especially in the profile, like to the side. And
wait, I want to let you finish. I'm sorry.
I thought you were saying something. It's just and and of course her makeup game is sublime. Like, but still a glitter beard. I used to have like a beard for like a long time. Like a year ago, I still had it, even though I knew I was non-binary. It was kind of laziness, but also mostly laziness, but a little bit of just like some days I want it, some days I hate it.
Right.
I didn't know what to do with it, so I kind of procrastinated.
So, yeah, I had. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, I did see that last video about console points. I have to admit I'm not a console points fan, just because of the positions she holds. But that non-binary aesthetic with the glitter beard was amazing.
She's not perfect, and I have stuff I disagree with her, but I still I like how she looks, and I like. I have a crush on her, so
yeah. I do wanna I do wanna just relay a couple of interesting things. So, I had a beard pretty much right up until the lasers that I've been doing started taking effect. Like I knew the first time that I started losing hair that I was losing hair because I had a beard and I was in the shower and I was just like, oh, it's coming out, cool. After like 3 weeks, but I had like a week and a half of scruff basically, and that was even before I started hormones. And a funny story from yesterday, so we can just laugh at me. I was in the grocery store, just it was too hot to cook anything, so I was just buying like sandwich meat and stuff. I went into the freezer, and there was no lemonade and only one can of limeade. I wanted the limeade, but there were people there who were looking for lemonade. I grabbed the lemonade, and then I think I was going to the cash out, but this dude's like, oh no, she took the last lemonade. And I'm like, no, it's limeade. And I'm like smiling hugely because I just got gendered correctly, right? And I walked into like a like perfectly obvious giant like support beam with a wet floor sign beside it that I knocked down. Because I was like, I just got randomly I got hurt by a random stranger. I didn't fall down. I actually hugged it. I was actually hugging onto it so I didn't fall. Yeah, I just wanted to laugh at myself there for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
May, I laugh at you anyway.
Yeah.
Good.
The only thing is just realizing, like, I think kind of like changing my name's kind of helping me, like, getting less gendered as male. I think, like, when I tell people my real name instead of my old name, that kind of helps too. I don't know. That's what some of my. Oh, there's a fly in the camera. I was just swatting at it, so so it looked like I was swatting at the camera.
That's one of the things you always do with the phone. The first thing I will do on a phone is straight out tell people my name.
Yeah.
That way, they know who they're addressing. You've already dealt with it, especially if you've got a name that's, I mean, it's harder for Kaden, but for any of us who actually have names that aren't by gender, it's very easy to put your name forward and that becomes a thing. Yeah, look, I told you my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually what Diana does, too, right? She's like,
Yeah.
my name is Diana. Or if she's
Yeah.
in person, she's like, and then people correct them. And yet knowing, you know, having worked on phones for a considerable length of time, I know very well that when I was still using my dead name, people would generally gender me more correctly if I wasn't using, or if they didn't hear my name. So, depending on how your voice actually sounds, having either using or not using your name, depending on whether you're using your dead name or your new name, then like that makes a huge difference, and I can't stress that enough.
Indeed. Like for me, before I came out and I was using my dead name, people would gender me as female until they heard my name and then would switch, or they would just keep on gendering me female even when they heard a male name. But now it's like my name is deliberately androgynous. Like not counting my full name, but just what I go by, which is Kaden. It's androgynous, but you won't believe the fact that basically no one takes it into consideration. Like, hey, this is a non-binary name, they must be non-binary. They just think, oh, they're a girl with a boyish name.
Yeah.
I will reiterate, I thought it was a completely made up name that only existed in Pathfinder. That's just
I know, because
the first time I ever encountered the name was in the Pathfinder stuff. So
I play a lot of Pathfinder, and people have pointed that out to me so many times.
Well,
it is
you know
like,
what?
Kaden Colleen is actually the complete opposite of me, so it's it's ironic, but yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard the name before that, so it's not a terribly common name, at least around.
Yeah, I hadn't heard Kaden before.
I've heard it once, but the only time I've ever heard it was a little boy's name.
Yeah, I think I heard Kaden like that.
Non-binary.
Like the only time I really hear like my name is kind of appropriate age-wise because like it was really popular like the 1990s, so most people will
Brittany
be.
Spears.
Yeah, 1990s. Like it's such a millennial name.
It is.
Brittany Spears is such a good non-binary name.
Yeah. Although, yeah, like I think it peaked in popularity in the United States around 1991. It's like the early 90s. Although one of my friends, like her name's also that, and she's trans as well. Although I don't think she's really out that much, considering like she hasn't really changed any of her social media profile pics, and her Facebook still says her dead name on it.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's even told her girlfriend about it.
I have a cis cousin named Brittany, but she's almost 40, and like, so I don't think of it as a millennial name, but
It's technically is like, although maybe I'm not old enough to be a millennial. I'm like the cutoff is like around like I'm either the youngest millennial or the oldest Gen Z.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not sure with.
I'm the youngest Generation X or the oldest millennial.
Yeah, like
I don't even know what I am. I don't care.
You're Generation X.
Yeah.
I was born in '73. So.
Yeah, you're a solid Generation X. I have seen millennials be mentioned from three different classifications. The earliest one starts at 77, and the latest one starts at like 82 or something like that.
Yeah, like 81,
Yeah.
82 to like, I think like 96, 97, roughly. So,
Yeah.
honestly,
I-
I don't care. Like, I've heard like people
Millennial.
like say like young people millennials, so it's like whatever.
There is
I
a
don't-
term that's exennial, so X instead
Yeah.
of mil,
There could be some
and
overlap.
and that's where I would fit in. That's like the
See.
first few years of
Yeah.
generation
Millennial generation.
millennials.
Yeah, it's like 1980 to 1987, which is
Yeah,
where
I was
would
born
fit
in '84.
I'm
You're like slightly older than me, but yeah, I don't identify as a millennial because honestly, I don't feel much in common with people born in like 94, 95,
Yeah,
or even
I'm
91.
I think generational labels are just
stupid.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just ultimately it's
too.
just doesn't make much sense. They're arbitrary, based on arbitrary cutoffs.
It
And your
is.
generation is more to do with your own family and where you come
Yeah.
in that family than what year you were born in.
Yeah, I think if I took my own
Exactly.
family into consideration, like I would be more closer to millennials. My parents and my aunts and uncles would be like Gen X, and then although my grandparents would be like they're too old to be baby boomers since they were born like before the war ended.
Yeah, there would be like silent generation.
Yeah. That's like the definition, like the baby boom, like in the United States after, because the population increased a bit after World War II. Like,
Yeah, because all
I
the
think it went down during.
I don't know,
So-
just there was a population boom starting like in the 1950s in America.
yeah, well, it wasn't just America.
Yeah.
It was pretty much all of the Allied countries.
Yeah.
It was pretty much every country that was majorly involved in World War II.
Which is
Yeah.
nice.
So that's
Yeah.
but
I
but
think,
like,
like-
Mhm.
I think like baby boomers is primarily like a U.S. term. I think some other countries might, but that's where, because I think in Germany they describe the generations different.
yeah, it's a U.S. It's
For
generally
sure.
a U.S. and Canadian term. Some British use it, I think, but it's mostly North American.
Yeah, it makes
I
sense.
think it is too. Yeah.
Because we actually had a lot of people who we actually had a lot of expeditionary forces
Mhm.
who went out across thousands and thousands of miles of ocean in one direction or the other. Like I actually did a measurement. I'm about 18,500 kilometers from Jenny. Okay, so like, and that's only halfway across the Pacific. So it took a long time for them to even get all the people who were in Europe and in the Pacific campaign. It took a long time for them to get back. They basically were using aircraft carriers that had been depleted of aircraft, and they were like camping people on the decks of aircraft carriers to bring people back. So it took. It was called Operation Magic Carpet. So it took a long time to get everyone back, and then you had a bunch of people who hadn't even been home in like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, or well, 3 to 5 years, depending on.
Yeah.
I
I
have
don't.
a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think Brittany was gonna say something first, though.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I don't really know any. I had like I can think a great grandfather who died before I was born was in the U.S. military during the war, so that's
Mhm.
the only connection I would have had. But he died, so
My grandpa on my dad's side was at Normandy, and he made it inland, and then he got hit by 15 I think MG 15 machine gun rounds. I don't know what type of machine gun. And then he retired in protest to Canada going into the Suez Crisis in the 60s.
Mhm.
Wait. He got hit by 15 rounds and he still was in the army afterwards.
He survived. Wow.
Wow, you Canadians are tough.
Indeed.
It
Yes,
was
we-
a flesh wound.
I did have
Yeah.
a question though.
Oh
There-
my
there-
god, Monty Python reference.
There's a reason. There's a reason why when the Canadians come to fight, we're actually legitimately feared by some people. Go ahead, Kaden.
Oh yeah, and this is on the original topic of the video, which is transition goals. We haven't talked really much about physical transition goals.
Yeah.
And I just want to know if people are comfortable talking about that. I know it's kind of a TMI subject, but
Hmm.
I feel like with the topic that we were going for, it's kind of an important thing to discuss. So
Yeah,
how would you folks feel about that?
absolutely, absolutely fine. And
Yeah.
the whole thing is important. Some people put more value or emphasis on one area of transition than another area of transition. And some people think some parts of transition aren't important. But really, in general, for most people, it's basically everything is important. Like even social aspects of transition are important for me. Even though I did a lot of them a long time ago, or I just naturally already always have been like that. So, who would like to go first on this one?
I guess we could go for. Oh, I think Alanis
Oh,
beat
look
me.
at all the hands up.
All right.
Well,
Okay then. I will do it in the way I. Yeah, go ahead, Alanis. You haven't said a whole lot lately.
I have had this hormones for a while, and that's changed some of my body. I've gotten the upper body, and it's made me less upset about what I have down there. I'm a bit lucky because I always had low male hormones. To the fact when I first went to see an endocrinologist, they didn't believe that my kid was mine because they didn't think there was any way for me to parented a child with
Yeah,
his lowest.
exactly.
So I have a little bit of hair, which I would love to get removed. I probably have about 3 chest hairs and no arm or no leg hairs. But I would love to get the part down there taken care of. I worry that will never happen because I said my weight and money, but also I was never one of those really large people before. And after 5 years of hormones, 7 years of hormone, it's not as big as it was even then. And I worry that I've lost too much to actually be able to get surgery.
Depends on the time you have.
So, what makes everything work shrinks, but the skin doesn't really shrink that easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's-
and you could because I am totally into things that don't use that as raw materials for it. There is also the option of going to someone who will do a perinatal pull through vaginoplasty, so they can use other stuff now that they couldn't use back then.
Yeah.
And you
But
get a lot more.
that for me, that would be my goal for being. If I were to say I was done with my transition, it would probably be that. I don't think I need the facial surgery. Even when I was younger and thinner, I never had an Adam's apple.
Yes,
And
same.
I don't.
I can
Same.
I can feel in there, and I don't have one. So even if I lost all this weight, there wouldn't be one showing up that I would need to have shaved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do, but it's like above my jawline anyway, like right here. So even if I lost a bunch of weight, my neck was here, it would still not be really visible.
Like half the people in
Yeah.
our videos are like,
Yeah.
turn the
I have one.
volume off and put a picture of Vader next to us. We're like,
Yeah. If
But
Alanis
that's-
is done,
like
I'd like to go.
I'm done.
Okay,
yes.
I just want to say, please don't do that.
Don't.
Yeah, don't.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, we need memes.
Please don't
Although-
Photoshop that.
Gosh. But I was gonna go ahead if Alanis was done. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, go
Name,
ahead.
Jenny. Yeah. So for me, and I said at the beginning of the show, I think I've reached my transition goal. Again, in a perfect world, I would have a completely sexless body. You know, no male features, no female features, no nothing. But this isn't a perfect world, and it's not biologically possible nor safe to do that. So my second choice is to have a body that's as female as possible. And keeping the as possible in mind, I think I've pretty much reached that goal. The one thing that would need to be changed is my genital area. But first of all, I mentioned that because of HRT and because of what HRT does down there, I don't really have much dysphoria off of it now. And also, because I was born intersex, what I have is so negligible in size that, you know, I don't even notice it most of the time. And the standard SOS wouldn't even work for me because of that. So, it just isn't a big concern. So, I'm basically fine with the way that my transition has taken me. I've been on HRT for several years now. And at first, I didn't think it would do anything to me, but I feel like it obviously has at this point. And at this point, I can't complain. Like, if I were to suddenly come into $100,000 and find a skilled surgeon, would I have bottom surgery? Probably. But given my life circumstances, it just isn't that big of a deal. And if I save up money, I would much rather use that to travel. I want to go hike the Himalayas. I want to go visit my partner in Scotland. I want to go see the world. And that to me is so much of a bigger thing than having surgery. So at this point, as long as I'm being recognized as non-male, and as long as I don't see the man in the mirror, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah. My goal is basically like non-binary dick girl.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah. It's just it's something what I call, if I want to be like a more serious description, would be like alter sex in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone's like bodily sex is non-normative, but it's not like intersex either, because that's like a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although honestly, if I could have like a choice, I would have wanted to been born intersex. But the closest I can get is to something what I call alter sex.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
honestly, that's good. Like the only surgeries I would ever consider for transitioning would be breast augmentation if hormones don't give me enough. Right now I have A cup, so it's something, but it's the onset, so there's still more to go. Like the maximum effect is not like what 3 years on hormones, so
3 to 5.
from what I've heard. But
Yeah.
even then, it's like
It can be longer than that.
yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, yeah, if I ever lost the weight, I probably would want to get stuff up here because I think a lot of this is big because I'm big.
Yeah, that's it. Although,
God, we'll look
like
at
the
that
papers I
anyway.
got from my doctor taking from like Planned Parenthood, they gave us like this like kind of like detailed timeline with like onset and maximum effect for feminizing HRT, and it showed like various like breast growth said like around like 3 months for onset and then like 2 to 3 years for maximum effect, though I noticed it more like 2 months in for sure, maybe like 1 month. I mean, I've always had like, I think I might have had like mild, like a little more like here a little bit, but then it's just like the nipple shape changed a lot.
Hmm.
like wider and more like pointier in a way, like pointier. And sensitivity. That's one thing I noticed
Oh yeah.
almost immediately. Sensitivity. And
Nice.
the main reason I'm like one of the main reasons I'm taking it is like I think breast growth is like kind of like number one for like physical changes for me because I always wanted them even when I was like a child. Like like I wish I had something that would make me grow boobs.
Uh, so like, and this is kind of this. It's not just a, you know, here's what you're going to have in 3 years, and this is what you're going
Yeah.
to have for the rest of your life, because that's not how it works with cis women either. You know, cis women will have their breast size change throughout their life. You know, some people can lose a bunch of weight and they will be
Yeah.
smaller, or some people can get pregnant and they will get bigger. And that is
Yeah.
why. And the reason they get bigger for that is one, they're lactating, and two, there's a lot more progesterone. So I think so, and I've been given an article I can share it if people want, that has a whole bunch of this is from Kenzie, who a whole bunch of really good things should come out of the right dosage of progesterone. So I'm hopefully starting that on Tuesday actually.
Nice.
But so you know, it's more based on your genetics and your age than your hormones. So like that can change throughout your life as well. Is something that I've come to understand. Sorry, just to interject there.
Yeah, that's I think I don't know where I would get a hold of progesterone actually.
Just
'Cause
ask Planned Parenthood; they'll give it to you.
okay, I'm sure they would. Like I guess my next appointment. My next appointment's they want to see me like I think in August.
Yeah, just say I want progesterone, and if they give you trouble, then I'll then have the article on handle. I don't know, post it in
Yeah.
our group chat or something.
Yeah, they didn't mention it. They only mentioned when I started estradiol and spironolactone.
Mhm.
That's like the only things they mentioned. I don't think they've ever mentioned. Although I
Sometimes progesterone is a third one that you have to ask for.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Like
Although
I had
I did one time mention Viagra at one point because I was concerned about ED.
Yeah, that's seems to be different for everyone. I'm not having that
Yeah.
problem. And I recently had my blood taken in preparation for the the appointment because she wanted to. Well, it's just a regular blood test, anyways. At 7 months, and my testosterone is pretty much tanked by now. It's like 0.4 nanomoles, which is like I started at 17.9. So it's like it's if there was a bunch of cis women in the chat here, mine would probably be lower than most of it at this point. Um, it's that low. So um, yeah, that's ED is not becoming an issue for me. Although things are a little bit different down there. And I have to get used to that. And yeah, let's. I'll get more to me later.
Yeah.
like
It's just
well, Brittany, is it fine if I say something?
yeah.
Since with with estradiol and spironolactone and progesterone, I had to actually specifically ask for that specific combo because usually they just do E and spiro and they don't do the P. And I had to specifically ask for progesterone. And they gave it to me, but a lot of times you have to explicitly say it. Because the current thinking is just that it's not necessary. Even though for me it did have measurable effects.
Yeah.
It helped me out.
Uh,
Not
so
only with, breast growth, but also with just feeling normal, I guess, with feeling right on HRT. Cycling progesterone was important for me, but you have to ask for it.
So I'm just going to see if I can find this in my million. Ah, here we go. In my millions of stuff here. So yeah, I'll post this in the link, but this article basically says you want to be on roughly 300 milligrams of progesterone daily. I mean, I wouldn't start at that. I'd start at like 100 and then work my way up, just so that you get used to it. But like we had Kenzie on the show, not last week but the week before, and she has a lot of good information on that. So you can either watch that show or get in touch with her. She's Siri Antari's on Twitter, because she knows a lot more of that about that than I do. But it definitely helps. The thing that she said is that most people aren't given enough of it for it to make a difference.
300 milligrams a day, is that supposed to be everyday permanent, or is that just part of the cycling that you do for 10 days a month?
I believe it says take that every day before you go to bed. Is it's right in the book or in the article. I'll post the article in our group chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because I was told by my endo that I should only be taking 100 per day and only for a certain segment of the month. So that's something that is different. I believe that, she's probably more correct than my typical, small town cis doctor, but it's just not something I've heard before.
I don't know if it says to do a cycle or not. I'm going to have to fully read it. I haven't had a chance. But it does say 300 milligrams. I put it in the I put it in the Twitter chat that we have up for everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I guess next time I go to PP, Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
I'll ask about them for that.
Okay.
And see what they do. Although, yeah, they did. Wait a minute. Next estradiol dose is now 6 milligrams a day. So
I'm only on 4, but it's doing its job. My estrogen. I actually I'm cheating a little bit. I have some leftover pills. So I'm taking one of them a day right now too, and I leave my patches on, and just put new ones on. Just because my estrogen is still really low. It's when I had my blood test taken, it was actually still lower than before I started. Because weird things happened to me when I started HRT. All of my hormones tanked. Where one was supposed to go up and one was supposed to go down, they both went down.
Weird.
Yeah, my estrogen went from 128 to under 40. And it stayed there for 4 months. And on the 4th month, when I did the blood test, it was at 40. And now it's at 122, but it's still not at 128. And I have all this extra estrogen pills. And I have all the, well, I have like 4 left now. So I'm just trying to get everything that I can into my system. It's not necessarily a recommended thing, but it's not long term either. Just trying to give myself a boost.
Time for the body to adjust. Like when I first started, my T actually went up instead of down, and the E kind of like sat low. But within 6 months, it was within the normal, AFAB range, and it stayed there for years now. But actually, there was a period where I was on injections, and what happened was that my estrone level went way up, but my estradiol level tanked, and I started getting some physical masculinization. People's bodies just react differently to HRT, and there is not a one-size-fits-all solution. still just
Definitely.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that like I am definitely getting the physical changes. So
Mhm.
like I've been getting obvious physical changes like since the second or third month. So yeah, I got no idea what's going on there.
yeah, like I was having like strong physical changes basically the first 6 months that I was on. I was completely passable, things were working out, and then I switched to injections, and it kind of stalled for 2 years where I wasn't passable. I wasn't really getting physical changes, and then I switched back to pills, and it just like it picked up where I left off, and
That's
I kept
interesting.
getting physical changes and got to the point where I am now, which I don't know if I'm passable. That's such a subjective thing, but I know that I'm a lot happier with how I look
Yeah.
on than I am on the injections.
I want to say something else too. Like your 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 identity isn't necessarily tied to your dysphoria either, right?
Hmm.
So that's another thing that I've kind of come to learn. Is that you can have dysphoria that is definitely gender dysphoria, but your gender dysphoria isn't what determines your gender. It just
Exactly.
determines what things that go with gender make you uncomfortable with yourself. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah,
Mhm.
it's very complicated and very very nuanced.
Mhm.
Most
Um,
people have
and
some
people
form
make
It
a
of
lot
is.
of nonsense out of it.
None.
Nuance.
You said the
That was a
title.
nice
You
pun.
said the title. You said the
That was a
title.
nice pun.
Yeah.
But I was
You
gonna
have like
say
some sort
that.
of like I don't know,
Oh,
like some thing like
Roll credits.
Yeah, we need a
sound
yeah.
soundboard.
or like
I had one little thing to add
like
in though. Is that to expand upon what May just said? Like my dysphoria, at least when we're talking about physical dysphoria, is strictly about male physical features that I have. Any male feature about myself gives me gender dysphoria. That does, whereas female features don't. I'm not a woman. I am 0% woman. Period. But for some reason, my brain feels more comfortable with female features rather than male ones. I don't know, but I just roll with it. But that dysphoria doesn't determine who I am.
No,
It doesn't make me a trans woman.
and yeah, my dysphoria is also pushing me farther to want to um have a body that in most ways aside really from one resembles that of the body of a cis woman. um
Mm-hmm.
so like that doesn't mean that I'm not still at least in some part a man. It
Mm-hmm.
just means that there are certain parts of my body that I'm uncomfortable with from my starting position. Now I seem to be a lot
Exactly.
more comfortable with them still than a lot of other people. But it's still that's still where I'm coming from. Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I relate to that so much because I've dealt with like these trans medicalists online. They're the type of people who believe that you have to have dysphoria to be trans, and also that your dysphoria determines your gender identity. They've like
Mm.
straight up told me, Kaden, quote unquote, like because they don't even want to use my name, but they're like, Kaden, you're a woman, just get over it. It's just internalized misogyny. And I have literally sat with myself for years wondering if it was internalized misogyny, but I got to a place about 2 years ago where I'm like, this isn't internalized misogyny. This is just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm non-binary. I'm agender. It's just who I am. And your dysphoria is an important part of yourself, but it doesn't determine who you are, and it doesn't determine what gender you are.
Exactly. And yeah, might have a kind of a notorious one of those on at some point, because I really want to have a face, or at least a video face-to-face discussion with one. But even that person has changed their views quite a bit in the last, I'll say, 6 months. So that's really good. And sorry for going off track a little bit. Back to you, Brittany.
You're right. I was just gonna say, like, a lot of my dysphoria is mostly, I think, social dysphoria. Like, anytime I get compared to like maleness, not masculinity, mind you, maleness is just a source of just me being dysphoric, and usually just like, I don't know, he him does it too. It's like getting called male coded terms, and sometimes it could be like the only thing that I really get about bodily is like I had like chest dysphoria for some time though. Although being on HRT sort of makes it more manageable or reduced it at least. It's like, oh, well, it's growing, so it's don't have to worry about too much.
Entirely hear you there.
And I still get voice dysphoria sometimes, a lot. That's just a. Honestly, I want to be like within the androgynous range of my voice.
Same.
Yeah, I don't care if. I mean, I'd rather have a higher voice than a deep voice, but I don't really, not really trying for that.
Yeah,
But if
yeah, my normal speaking voice is usually right on the androgynous voice sound.
Yeah, same here.
The thing is when I did singing, I was a bass too. That's like the deepest.
I can't even. I can.
In fact, some notes even
This.
like were like too high for me when I was singing. Like there were notes that were too high. Like even written on the sheet, I had to like. Yeah, so even then I needed a little bit of voice training to like.
This is about as low as I can possibly go, and I don't even sound very good doing it.
I can get about this low.
So
low,
but
as low
I have
this
actually
is as low as I can go.
I have actually had voice dysphoria going both ways.
Yeah.
Same.
Like it's
I've
not.
always wanted to sound ambiguous, but I don't think I do.
Well, I mean, like I've had dysphoria for my voice being too high when it's in the androgynous range, and I've had my dysphoria for my voice being too low when it's in the androgynous
I can
range.
understand that.
So yeah, it's one of those weird things that just goes with being me.
And then the other thing is like hair, and especially with hairline, like worrying about any. Like I don't think I'm balding, although I worried about having like receding hairline. And
shouldn't have that problem though if you're on hormones. So
yeah, that should be taken care of. But I don't know, I still worried. Like I guess earlier I have it. I don't really get as much as I used to, but I think mine's fine anyway.
Yeah,
you're fine.
You're better off than me.
Yeah,
like
I used to be a muscle problem. The only time I really get dysphoria about a bodily feature is voice usually. But most of my dysphoria is just sometimes chest dysphoria. Basically, like it comes back. It's like, oh, I have boobs, but why did me being impatient really? But voice dysphoria, I think, is still like the biggest thing with bodily. But it's mostly social than bodily, honestly.
Yeah, I don't really experience dysphoria. But yeah, I experience weird other dysphoria. Like me not having a really deep voice, and then me not having a really high voice.
Although sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I might get fixated on like my face, like I don't know. I used to like when I don't want to have a beard anymore, but it's just like my stubble grows back kind of used to grow up quickly. Although I think that's going to slow down. It's starting to slow down. Good.
Well,
but yeah, when I started, my stubble was always just grew back fast and burgeoning. absolutely burgeoning.
My facial hair never grew in.
It's her making. I think someone else reading it. It's like a quote from one of the most notorious turfs ever, Jermaine
Really?
Greer.
Oh.
I
cringed just at you.
Yeah.
Jermaine Greer.
She was describing like her like visceral disgust for some trans woman that she met in the United States, and she just went off and just described like
burgeoning.
Yeah, like this. It was like I think the full quote was like, to give more context, like, and through the pancake thick makeup, the stubble was already burgeoning.
Oh my
Sort of been reclaimed as a
quote. I've seen that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
So just for a quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. You have to go shortly. So is there anything that you wanted to add, Alanis?
No, I enjoyed this view. If y'all haven't subscribed to all of us, make sure y'all do.
Yeah, everything's in the description.
Like yourself.
And I really was happy to be here.
Okay, thanks a lot.
It was awesome having you on.
And make sure I turn this off before I get undressed.
I probably have to go too soon, mate.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Bye. Have fun.
Okay. So. Yeah, sorry.
I might have to go soon as well. So, do we want to wind the show, and do you want to wind into the after show?
Well, we have a couple more people to go through.
But yeah, once we've gone through, I mean.
Yeah, we'll probably wind it into the after show at that point.
Yeah.
So. Anything else, Brittany?
I just, yeah, and even then, like, shaving's a hassle. I hate shaving.
Yep.
Maybe I think I do want like some like laser hair or exercises for like my face, and maybe even I don't really care too much about my like rest of my body, like chest and legs. I mean, I did shave up my chest a while ago, and then when it gets too thick, I just shave it off again. Like I actually bought like a razor and shaving cream for that. Although I never bothers my legs, weirdly enough, because I don't care too much. And unlike my chest hair, my leg hair is actually kind of thin. I mean, you can notice it, but it's not like dark. Like my chest hair was really dark. It was like brown hair.
Okay.
Like fully brown hair, and like my beard was like kind of this like brown orange color. And my hair normally is like I think it's like a dark blonde to describe it. It used to be more blonde when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like if you find a child picture of me, I had blonde hair.
I was a platinum blonde. I was platinum blonde when I was like up until I was like 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I might dye my hair anyway. Maybe bleach it or maybe dye it.
I think
about
I've
it.
forgotten my natural hair color because I dye it so much. Like it's purple now. It'll be blue next week.
Okay. Yeah, I dyed my hair once. It didn't go very well, so I don't care to bleach it.
One of my friends, they tried to dye their hair like, and it turned out blue, and they weren't going for it. And then they dyed it again to black. I think their natural hair color was like, I think it's like light brown. I think that was their natural hair color. They bleached it at one point, then dyed it to like, they wanted to look like, I guess they, like this, I think like this silver, dark silver color originally, but then turned out blue, and then black. I mean, that's their aesthetic.
Okay.
They have this really awesome emo androgynous aesthetic.
Okay, yeah, I just tried to dye mine like a really nice deep violet, but it just came black, so not doing that again.
I don't know. I think if I want to dye my hair, I think I want it pink or purple.
I like really dark purples.
Yeah.
Team.
Oh, maybe I'll just find like someone professionally to do it, because I wouldn't know. Although maybe some friends might help.
I did have half a mind to have my hair dyed into trans flag colors for Pride, but
Nice.
That's awesome. I wish I had the bravery to do that, but in Utah,
yeah.
Although
I mean, I'm kind of
you can go bold and just have like non-binary flag colors, because it's like I guess I have like white out, and then just like golden blonde for yellow, and then like purple and then black. That
I
would be
would totally
interesting.
do that
Yeah.
if I didn't live in Utah.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah, and I don't have to say it later. Yeah, I actually have. I'm getting my chest lasered. I'm getting my face lasered.
I get
Just
that.
hairy boobs are not something that I want on me.
I don't mind that personally, but I find that
It-
not having chest hair actually makes what I have look a bit bigger, weirdly enough.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
they kind of hid it with because they were like kind of. It was like this thick spot right here, and
Yeah.
yeah. It's just. I don't care about other people, but not for me. I don't even really have
Yeah.
that much torso hair. But yeah, it's just a big nope. I'm gonna get my legs done next.
I basically had none to begin with, but I mean, with body hair, I kind of have a weird like relationship to it because anything that is like specifically male, like really dense leg hair, dense arm hair, chest hair, that would give me dysphoria. But at the same time, like I'm growing out my leg hair because it is an androgynous thing. It's a way for me to show a little bit of masculinity or a little bit of androgyny. And it's not
yeah,
a male sex feature,
I
so it doesn't bother me. So I'm actually growing out my leg hair because that's just like part of me expressing being agender. So
Yeah, I mean I have
complicated.
a few friends who are cis women who have more arm hair than I do, than I
Yeah.
ever did. Right. So that's definitely not um a cis dude thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely am a hairy person originally. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
having to deal with body hair when you. I mean, it doesn't. I never really got dysphoric from just having body hair per se, but honestly, I found that I think I look better without it.
Yeah, that's kind of that. I'm occasionally dysphoric about facial hair. I was
Yeah, I think
feeling it today, but all my like I had laser on on Friday, right? So they're all puffed out and way more obvious than it normally would be. It's almost all gone anyways. But they're like it gets cooked and it expands and it's a lot thicker. Um, so yeah, I was feeling it. I was feeling it today. I probably should have shaved. You can't see it like at all on the camera. But trust me, it's there.
Yeah.
So
I guess I don't know if you can really tell. Like,
Not on
oh,
camera.
yeah, not on a camera you can't tell. I
I
guess
think
maybe
the
up
only thing-
close.
right now it's this that's killing me. And, okay, right now it's this.
Maybe
I
my
get
makeup
that.
covers it. I mean, I use. I mean, just get in there with the
Yeah.
electric razor, just on the face, and then, then goes like, the primer, and then foundation and concealer. Because I always wear makeup frequently, actually every day. One, because of practice. Two, I look better with it anyway.
I lost interest in makeup a few months ago when I
Yeah.
realized that I didn't need it to pass.
It's
I
not.
usually don't wear any, but some days I do. Just
I
it
mean,
depends on how I feel.
Yeah, I'm the same, Caden. I rarely wear makeup. I put a little bit on for doing the streams. Mostly try to stop weird lighting effects.
I think I look a little better now. Like I could, like I wanted, like I think I look better with like in the past. I think I wanted to do it more, but now I'm just like, I mean, I'm in the habit of it. If I
Yeah,
had to like get up immediately and do something and didn't have time for it, I think I would be fine.
that's pretty much where I am. Like
Like I actually wearing like I'm wearing more natural makeup, and some people think that funny. It's like a like how it's like some people like especially like cis men viewing cis women like they think, oh, she's wearing natural makeup, but she's not wearing any makeup. They think she's only wearing makeup if it's like more exaggerated or like
Like
yeah,
colorful.
yeah.
Like
A large sorry, a large part of my not wearing makeup is that I get out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning usually
Mhm.
on days where I'm going outside, and then I'm on the bus at 7:20. So yeah, I don't really have time to do that, and I have sleep apnea. So actually, being asleep and getting up is an annoying thing for me. Um, so uh, yeah, like it's just too much of a hassle for me to bother anymore. So go ahead, Kaden. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, like with facial hair, that was like the one feature that absolutely just killed me before I transitioned was, and I didn't have really much, but I had a lot like under here and some there, and it was just like I just wanted to literally just burn my face off because it was killing me. So once I had electrolysis, honestly, that was the best $2,000 I've ever spent in my life because it killed so much dysphoria. Because like I don't know what it is about facial hair, and I know that there are cis women who have it. I know there are plenty of AFAB, non-binary people who have it, but I just could not have it on my face. It was just absolutely disgusting. It made my body feel so alien to me. So
Yeah,
I don't
I
like it
think
at
Yeah.
all.
looking
So
back on it,
sorry to interrupt again, but Jenny has to go shortly. So do you have
yeah.
anything? Do you have anything that you want to add before you go,
Me?
Jenny?
On me.
Jenny.
Well, yeah, from my perspective, because I'm like Hayden and Lizzie in chat that I've pretty much done all my transition. I don't really have dysphoria anymore. Not in the sense of being dysphoria about being trans or any trans related issues. I still have some body issues that if I had lots of money I'd deal with, but I don't see them as trans issues because they're not. They're just normal female body issues. So I don't, but it's really interesting hearing you guys, and I can remember what that was all like, but I don't feel it anymore. So there is that thing that as you get through and you get to the position where you're happy with yourself, you'll find that most of the dysphoria just goes away.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Believe me. Like before I came out, it was absolute agony. Like even though it was agony that I kind of like pushed down and dissociated from, it was still agony. And
Yeah.
now that I'm basically post transition, I've reached my goal. Just the most beautiful thing is not having to think about it. Like, yes, I have body issues. I don't like my nose. I think
Yes,
my face is too square, but those aren't trans issues. Those aren't.
no,
Oh,
they're
these things
normal
about me
female
are
issues.
male.
Well, for me, they're normal female issues. They're just body issues for you.
Well, I'm not female, but
No, but I say that for you, they're
Oh.
just body issues. For me, they're female issues. So
that makes sense. And I feel
Yeah.
sort of the same way. I feel like it's body issues for me. Not that they're female body issues, but just body issues. But
Yeah.
all of the questioning dysphoria that I'm living in a man's body, I have a man's face on. All that is gone. I don't feel that way anymore. And
Yeah.
it is the most liberating thing to wake up and to stress about my commute to work or to stress about, oh, I don't like my nose, or hey, I have 100 angry emails to answer, and not, oh, I'm in some dude's body.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it works a little bit differently for me, but I'm still like getting to that point, I guess. More now, it's like my body is more becoming the way that my dysphoria is telling me it should be. Is I guess the way I'm most comfortable explaining that. So that's mostly where I am. Like I still like I actually got entirely more dysphoric uh between the time I came out and now. Um just because there's a lot of walls I put up to prevent myself from being dysphoric. And every so often, one of those walls can't. I think they're all down now. But every so often, one of those walls comes down, and it's like I'm not even expecting. I forgot that I forgot about that thing, or it wasn't a reality, and I didn't care about it anymore. So like up until like a year ago, or sorry, no, up until like mid-November, I still had a beard.
Yeah,
It,
that's the time when I shaved off mine denial beard too.
it's not. I didn't mind having it. Right?
I
It's like
mean, I call it that. I mean, it was kind of like that. I mean, I kind of call it as a joke, but for me, I just like made it work. Laziness.
there was a lot of laziness, or I used to have really bad acne, so I just would be like, I'm gonna shave. No, I'm not. We're just gonna leave that to hide that. But like up until it's true, up until like I really started trying to present feminine, like it didn't cause me any dysphoria, unless I did shave, and then having a beard shadow actually has. I think looking back on it, having a beard shadow has always caused me to be dysphoric.
Yeah.
But having a full beard out to like here did not ever make me dysphoric. I'm fine with that. I mean, I wouldn't want it right now. Generally presenting more female, but like it wouldn't make me dysphoric. It'd be more like wearing an ugly shirt I don't like wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wish it wouldn't be like a permanent commitment, like having a beard. Like it's like it's like a article of clothing you could take off. I wish it were like that, but
yeah,
like I wish you could do that with my body, like exchange body parts out.
well, that would
I'm
be.
going to love you all and leave you. Have a
All
great
right.
rest of the show. Have a great after show, and I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of the holiday.
What
Thanks.
happened?
Bye, Jenny.
My connection froze a bit.
Jenny is going to go and enjoy her holidays.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. So yeah.
By the way, what's a holiday?
It's a vacation in the U.S. Same thing.
What's that?
I had my first vacation in almost 3 years of working at my current job. I was able to actually afford to take a vacation to go to Toronto Prides. That's how bad that is. That yeah, I needed a break. So yeah, like I occasionally get dysphoric about like stubble. And it's a lot more obvious not on camera, especially since I have a lot of light coming right on my face. And right now it's all this right here. If this could just fuck off, I would be more than happy. The rest of it is gone to the rest of it's either, weirdly enough, blonde or light red hair that doesn't leave a shadow, so I don't care. I can shave it off a little bit. That doesn't bother me. I would like it gone so I don't have to pay for razors anymore. But I can just use like an electric or something and get rid of that real quick.
Yeah,
It doesn't make
I've
a
only
difference
used
for me.
electric. I've only used electric, like even when I was younger. I was gonna say a point of just like I think one of the signs, like I think the earliest signs of dysphoria I probably had in hindsight was a bodily dysphoria, at least was when it came in when I was like 13 or 14. Like I actually had like actual like facial hair, beard since I was 14. That's when it grew in first,
Yeah.
and it kind of at first I was kind of terrified. Like, you think I would have expected it? No, but like I just saw like the first hair grow in ever, and I was just like, I was like
Yeah.
ask my parents if something was wrong going on. Like So if I had like the full knowledge of gender I had now, I would have definitely gone on puberty blockers and had a head start on like medical and even social transition. Well, obviously, if you knew when you're like 12 or 13 or even younger, like
Yeah, if
I would have
I
loved to have known by then.
if it if I had you see if I had the knowledge that I have now and I was offered puberty blockers, I would decline them. If I was offered them when I was actually like, well, 10 or 12 or 13 or whenever they would give them to me, I had a relatively early puberty. I was 9 when it started. Then I would have taken them, and I would have transitioned as much as possible. Uh, so I kind of have a weird ambivalence towards puberty blockers, but I think that's just something that we need to educate kids more on. But the whole, I do need to say that the whole go on puberty blockers and decide whether it's the right thing for you or not to transition doesn't actually really say a lot to me, because it was going through puberty that made me understand that that was right for me. Not going through puberty would not have been good for me. Yeah.
Like, as painful, as agonizing as it was for me, and I attempted suicide as a teenager because of dysphoria from what was happening to my body and the masculinizing. As agonizing as that was, I would not take it back, because if I did, then I wouldn't know for certain, and I would always have those nagging doubts. Maybe I could have been happy as a man. Maybe I should have just let it happen. Maybe I made the wrong decision. But because I went through that experience and I know that it fetched me up in every possible way, I, one, can appreciate my body now, and I can appreciate feeling white in a way that I would not have been able to had I blocked puberty. And also, it gave me that certainty that biological maleness was just not right for me.
Yeah, I mean, I knew my everything when I was 9. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
For me.
I had no idea.
It's like my sexuality and gender identity just instantly turned on the second I hit puberty.
Is it fine if I say something? Like, I actually did know that I was agender before puberty, because I know at the age of 4, when my late parents had to sit down and explain, "Oh, dead name, you're a boy," and I was just like, "But I'm not a boy, and I'm also not a girl.
Yeah.
And I actually said that at age 4. I didn't have the word agender or non-binary or anything like that, but I knew that I wasn't a boy and that I wasn't a girl. And that wasn't something that I've ever really had to question. But what I did question was the physical aspect of it. Like, could I be fine in a male body? And the answer was no. But I feel like had I just blocked puberty, I wouldn't have had that certainty. Like, I would have known that I was agender, but I wouldn't have been able to rest easy, knowing that having a more female body would be more right for me.
Yeah,
that makes.
It makes sense. I'm coming from a slightly different place, but I've never questioned anything. I've always been certain of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, completely derailed. One of the big factors for me is that everything, like, I have no complaints about the things that developed, right? I've described my the best way to describe how I feel dysphoria is that I'm not dysphoric over really anything that I got from male puberty except for the beard shadow. That's really the big one. My not wanting hair, chest, arm, or leg hair, or any other hair aside from this stuff and this stuff, is purely preference, personal preference. And I can understand the difference between that and not wanting this stuff. So, but if I blocked puberty, then I guess I am kind of coming in because if I blocked puberty, then I wouldn't know that then I wouldn't have known that going through puberty would have been the right thing for me. But a more pressing thing is that since I like most of what I got from male puberty, if I blocked it, I wouldn't have got it, and that's kind of a big thing for me.
Yeah,
partially because it's big.
It's like that's the one thing. It's just like I wish like transitioning, like especially body wise, were more seamless. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's kind of a really slow, gradual process, and even then, you still feel like you have to like compromise with some details for something you really want.
Yeah,
Like I feel like
if my ideal, as far as when I'm starting hormones and stuff, my ideal start time for HRT would be like just give me a little ding when my male puberty is over, so I can start when the first half of my puberty is over, so I can start the second half. Right, just be like, okay, this is done, you're getting everything you can out of that, let's start the second half now.
Yeah.
And go from there, right? That would have been my ideal, my absolutely ideal way of doing things. And then I still would have got some bone changes out of it too, like slightly wider hips or whatever. I'm kind of apathetic to that, but it'd still be nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, if I had known what I do now when I was 12, then absolutely I would have chosen to like block puberty and not go through any kind of male puberty. But again, not coming in with that knowledge, I think the point that I would have started HRT if my parents had been supportive would have been 16. Like after my suicide attempt over, gender dysphoria, I would have said, okay, that's enough. I can transition now. And I wouldn't, one, if I had supportive parents, and two, if there wasn't so much pressure to transition to the opposite binary. If it was just like I could physically transition that way, but still be Kaden.
Yeah.
Then that would have absolutely been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I actually remembered what I was going to say. Thanks. Because it reminded me. So one thing that went really well is that my parents didn't necessarily quote unquote raise me gender neutral, but they raised me do whatever you want. Right? They did that kind of in a lot of ways. But like they never really forced. And I know that now that they wouldn't have forced being like if I was say a binary trans woman like Jenny, they would never force being a boy on me, right? It's just that I guess because I am partially a boy, or I was partially a boy, it would have like I was perceived as being just a non-trans binary boy, even though that wasn't necessarily entirely accurate. So like again, I really only experienced body dysphoria. So the like if everybody's parents raised them their children the way that I did, that would, or mine did, that would, at least as far as stuff like that goes, that would probably be the best. Like, if I had kids, I would raise them as the gender I thought they were, until they said they were otherwise. Especially since like trans people are only 2% of the whole population. But I would never force them to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the ideal way that is best for literally everybody. And some people think there's a tabula rasa thing going on, but it's really not. You really are born with whatever gender you are. Sometimes some people, like I know a few people who are like, I was 4 when I knew I was trans. Some people are like, I was 9 or 10 when I knew, and some people are like, yeah, I was like, I didn't even realize it until I was like in my mid 20s or later.
Wow.
So it sometimes some people take longer to figure things out. Not everyone knows at the same time, but everybody is, from what I understand of the science, everybody is born with whatever gender they are.
Exactly. And there was a lot of research that actually shows that.
Yeah,
but
there are some
for
people
me,
who
it
would
was just,
say otherwise.
yeah, the toast, but ignore them. But yeah, knowing that, I just, my parents, and I was going to talk about them, they absolutely did force maleness down my throat. Like, they were like, dead name, you're a boy, you're going to live as a boy, and you're going to grow into a man, heterosexual man, and you're going to like it. And I was born intersex. I was literally, quite literally, never a boy, but I had that forced on me, and it never felt right. I tried my darndest to fit into that role, but it just wasn't right, and it just gave me this aversion to masculinity because I had it forced on me so much. And
And I
had I
think
just been
that's
allowed to explore and be myself, and had I been raised in a gender neutral way, because again, I was intersex, I am intersex. Had I just been raised in a gender neutral way, I would have had a much happier childhood. But looking back on it, all I can really feel from it was just all this effort put forth into being something I'm not. And I really wish I could undo that.
Yeah, that's I think that the way I was raised is one of the reasons I don't really have much social dysphoria in addition to how my identity works. So like, I really would like to see people like, okay, we think you're this. Oh no, you're not. Okay, we're going to do this, and usually be told, because there are people who are, you know people like me who are like, yeah, okay, whatever, this is okay. um I maybe I would have liked to have been out earlier, maybe when I was 12 or 13, and um more. I don't even know if it would have, no, if I had all the knowledge I have now, I don't even know if anything would have really changed for me going through my teens, to be entirely honest. That was, with the exception of a few periods that were really bad, basically everything before I was 16. um like, the later part of my teens were actually a very good time for me, going into my early 20s, and then things kind of deteriorated again.
Yeah.
But again, my parents raised me choose your own gender, basically.
I don't think they were like really like too forceful. My parents claimed they're not. I mean, but they also claim to be like really supportive of my transition. I mean, it's really hard to tell. Sometimes it seems like
Oh
comes
yeah,
across weak-willed, but they certainly thought I was a cis boy and had that in mind through most of my life. Unfortunately, I I was 19 when I realized I was non-binary. I didn't necessarily say I was trans at first because I was still a little unsure, but I was like, well, I think I might be non-binary, but then solidified over time, especially when I started more like socially transitioning and telling people my pronouns and saying like, hey, I'm not male, don't treat me like that. And,
Yeah.
and that was like the first steps, and now I feel like even more solidified, like yes, taking hormones is the right choice for me. And and the way I dress right now is something I want to, and getting like my friends were obviously pretty accepting, like a lot of them turned to be like trans themselves, even if I met them as cis, even though they actually weren't. And if they are cis, they're really supportive, but like actually good. They don't need to say it because I know they are.
yeah. Pretty much all my friends are really supportive. I mean, I'm talking about my parents now. They might have been different then, right? Um, I was never gender nonconforming, at least from a boy perspective. Um, so they're like people were utterly shocked when I came out as being trans. Like it's one of those. Wait, what? We never could have guessed this. So and I haven't really changed much outside of going on hormones and presenting differently, to be entirely honest. I'm a little more socially outgoing and stuff. The hormones have seen to that. Um, but I'm not um like I haven't really changed a whole lot outside of what clothes I'm wearing and being on hormones, to be entirely, and my name and pronouns, to be entirely honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even doing voice training anymore.
I really haven't. Oh,
Would I still would, just because I feel like this is too deep, and even I worry that this is gonna sound like too deep for me. Like when I see this video, I mean, last week's video I saw like me trying to like get up higher, but sometimes it slipped. Mm,
I mean, you're fine for the most part, but
yeah,
yeah. Like,
it's not
the
too
sound
bad, but
androgynous to me.
I think it kind of takes some effort. Like this is me with talking no effort, and it's a lot deeper, and I notice it, and I feel like I'm really mangling like myself. It's
It
like I'm
takes time.
speaking with more effort, and it shouldn't be like that. Like it should be effortless. In a
yeah.
perfect world, of course.
Yeah. Like,
Keyword.
it honestly takes time. With voice training, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, I
And
know.
something that you can just pick up. It just happened. It's something that you have to work at. Like, for me, I never had to voice train because I've always sounded this way. So, but for people who do, you honestly just have to work at it and you have to play with it. And it takes
Yeah,
time. But
it's like
eventually you'll
I
find
feel
your voice.
like with like one of my friends, they're agender, but they took testosterone,
Hmm.
and just so they could drop their voice, and it did work for them.
Hmm.
And that's the
Uh,
thing. It's like I remember one of my friends, like his mother asked me, "Oh, will it change your voice, like being on feminizing HRT?" It's like, no, it doesn't, because
no.
I guess they were thinking of like the
Well,
other trans person they knew who's a trans guy, and
I actually, it doesn't necessarily change your voice. but and I'm kind of weird and have a very wide and normal speaking range, I guess. I find I just have a very I just the deepest I can go is not very deep, but I can
Yeah.
I can talk sometimes in a lower in a lower, and it's just me talking normally, not trying to talk lower. So the point more is that like I have been talking a little higher since I started hormones, and since I've started like I've been using the upper end of my range instead of the middle or lower end of my range a lot more. It's only started happening since I've started. I don't know if it's because I'm presenting more femme and just doing it naturally, or if the hormones are affecting me in some way, where I'm using the upper, where I'm feeling more feminine using the upper end of my voice. There's no physical change in my there's no physical change happening in my throat though, or like in what makes me speak. It's all up here, but like it is all up here for a lot of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. The deeper voice, so to speak, it's just a permanent effect of testosterone.
Yeah.
So whether you do it like where naturally or with medical intervention, that's going to be an effect. And they even post a video of like when they started tea, and like I think 9 months when they did, and they actually stopped tea. They're agender, although they thought they were like trans man for like one day, I guess they said, but so I guess it's fine. They don't really need it anymore because it's a permanent effect. So why keep on doing that?
I don't know, because I started with normal. I mean, testosterone does often help voice deepening, but it's not guaranteed. Like, I like there's no amount of testosterone you could pump into me that would lower my voice. It's as low as it's gonna get.
And
I
don't know with me because I was born intersex. Like, had I been born, purely male, I might have a deep voice.
Yeah, yeah. Like you showed me your pre-transition testosterone levels, and that's what, like a third of what I started with almost. So that might be that might be something that could happen. But I
not
doubt.
that I want to try and find out.
No, but I doubt that. I doubt that pumping more testosterone into me would do anything, seeing as how I had textbook average testosterone at 34. So I think that my voice is going to be as low as it can get. I know why my voice is so high. I don't chest resonate. Like I don't have any chest resonance whatsoever. It's not even something I can do. Because I've tried to go down. So it's not something that I know how to do or that I think I'm even capable of doing.
Honestly,
for me, it's just I feel definitely a lot like doing the normal voice. There's a lot of resonance, but when I'm in head voice, I don't feel that much. Or I mean, there's still some, but it's not as strong.
Yeah, and I mean I didn't realize I was doing head voice all my life until recently. Like, why can't I do head voice anymore? Oh, I'm already doing head voice.
You already are in head voice.
Yeah. Like honestly there are some weird things about my body that has made me question whether or not I'm intersex, but I don't know and I don't care. Unless
I mean, you could get like a DNA test, but
I'm told a 23andMe test would test for like one of the 2 or 3 only things that it could really be. So maybe I'll do that. I mean, I would actually love to have been born an XX male because that would just be like the biggest fuck you ever to TERFs. Or
Same.
any idiots who are like, but I have this, my chromosomes were XX.
Yeah.
I would
But
absolutely
I love
flex
having
six on them, right?
Yeah.
oh yeah, I
Like,
would totally
I love
flex
having
that.
because I can tell, the transphobic bigots. Oh, you say I'm not binary? Well, I have two X chromosomes and a Y chromosome, so shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good flex. And I know that you mentioned like childhood gender nonconformity, and I was always androgynous as a child, but for a quote unquote boy, I was definitely more feminine than the average, and it was something that my parents noticed, and I got punished for it because I just, I just didn't fit their conceptions. And it wasn't like I was a super feminine kid because I wasn't, I could have passed for a boy, but I just never had that masculine edge that a lot of, cis boys have. And the fact that agender just wasn't an option sucked because I've always felt like I was in between that masculine male and feminine female. I had features of both and features of neither, and just being allowed to be just nothing would have been so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, I use bigender, but we're going to be honest here. The term bigender was coined in 2010.
Wow. Really?
Yes. The term non-binary was not even non-binary. The term genderqueer was coined in like the mid 90s after I even knew that I was non-binary. So
I'm older than my gender identity then, because I knew that I was like not a boy, not a girl when I was 4.
yeah,
But
I
the
don't
term
know about
agender, yeah.
I don't know about agender specifically. So it might be older and it might have gotten folded into um non-binary.
I'm gonna look that up actually.
Okay. But yeah, so like I didn't know anything about being non-binary or specifically bigender and until very recently, even though I knew I was, and I actually used some really interesting terms like borderline transsexual uh to describe myself for a long time because I had no other words to describe myself. Right? It's like I knew the definition of transsexual is someone who has had bottom surgery is usually what the proper use of the word is. And it's like, and I was always like, yeah, I don't. Well, I do want that. I haven't got into that yet. That'll be fun. But I don't want that. But I want the hormones and all that stuff. So, and I'm still a little bit boy. Like, what? How do I describe this?
Well, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So like there is, especially for us, I guess we would be considered older non-binary people, even though there are a few non-binary people who are even older than us in like their 50s, even.
Yeah.
But we would be considered very old for people who are identifying as non-binary. Like for us, it's an entirely different thing than just being able to go online and be like, oh, this is a thing. I mean, that happened for me last year.
Oh yeah, like I just looked up the term agender, and it was invented back in the 90s, in the year 2000. So it's a lot younger than me. And when I was a kid, the term that I would use is just, I'm just nothing, or I'm just you know, a non-boy, non-girl. Like, I didn't have a term for it, but it was basically the definition of agender, just not having a gender. But I didn't have the language to describe it. And looking up language, like, what is it called when you're not a boy and not a girl? The only thing that came up was like hermaphrodite. And it was like this really rare form of intersex that maybe 10 people alive today had. And I was like, well, I know I'm not that, but I feel like I'm just nothing. And the other thing that came up was like really creepy sites about, you know, transgender, and it was basically marketed to like male cross dressers who did it for sexual reasons. And it was just, I honestly thought I was the only person on the planet who felt that way until my mid-20s.
Yeah, I
I honestly
never
thought it was just me.
really contemplated other people. It's like I know I'm this way, but I don't really care if there are other people who are the same as me, although there probably are, seeing as how well there are multiple different meanings to bigender, right? It's a label with multiple different meanings. There's another, I think, more common one, like version of bigender, where people are, where it's kind of like being gender fluid, except for instead of being fluid, it's like a light switch. You're either one or the other.
Yeah.
So if I was that, I would either at times be a basically a binary cis dude, or and then I would switch to being a trans woman. So that would be really weird, but that definitely isn't me.
I know someone
but
like
I'm
that.
but yeah, and that's fine. But I'm still both. And the both version definitely fits me very well, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, um, there's all of that, and yeah, for me on the medical side of things, I gotta start with hormones. So yeah, if I could have had a little, oven timer go ding when my puberty was done, that's when I would have started uh hormones. But now I have the second half of my puberty that I'm doing, and I want that to be, you know, I'm taking that seriously, and I want it to be like, I want everything I can get out of it, every last drop of everything I can get out of it. Because I want my body in most ways to be as female as possible. But when I'm done, I am actually going to try going completely off blockers,
Mhm.
but staying on estrogen and possibly progesterone. I don't know how long staying on that is useful. But I'm definitely going off. I'm definitely going off testosterone blockers, because I find a little more testosterone in my system, right? Like I'm kind of getting, like I do need a little bit of what testosterone does.
Yeah.
Especially with what's going on downstairs, it's really weird. um, and yeah, things are supposed to like automatically do maintenance, and that stops when you have virtually no testosterone in your system. So like shrinkage is a major fear for me. I mean, I don't have any erectile dysfunction. That's not something that's a problem for me. But I'm trying to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So I
Get
want
that.
that, and like when I started and looking at the blood tests that I've had, there was a point where I felt really, really, really just top of the world good, right? And it was just absolutely amazing. And I figure that was somewhere between 4 and 7 nanomoles of testosterone.
That
So
makes sense.
I would like to go back to that because, there is a amazing trans woman. Her name is Emmy Z
Mm-hmm.
J E on um on Twitter, and she has actually written an essay that shows that the hormone distribution in the brain is linked to gender identity. So, like, someone like me might have a more even balance of testosterone receptors and estrogen receptors in the brain. So
Wow.
I'm going with that, and
Yeah.
that sounds reasonable to me. And I passed that, so I want to go back there once I get everything I can. But of course, um, of course, once I get, I don't want to go back to up to 17.9, and I doubt
Yeah.
I even could do that anymore.
Mhm.
Even if maybe I could if I like stopped now doing any HRT. But in 4 years, I doubt I would be able to go back up to 17.9.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be any problem for me. And yeah, that's just where I want it to go. And Lizzie in the
Yeah.
chat is saying that if you get your E high enough, it'll keep you in check. Yeah, estrogen suppresses about 90% of gonadal testosterone production.
Yeah.
So
This is okay if I.
yeah,
Yeah, this is something that I thought about, like stopping blockos, but I just come to the conclusion that it's not for me. Like for me, the risk of being on blockos, at least until I can get some form of surgery, is a lot less than the risk of going off and getting masculinization and getting that dysphoria coming back. I just can't risk that. And also, I know that you mentioned shrinkage, and again, this might be a bit TMI, but for me, it was a feature and not a bug. If
yeah,
that makes any sense. Like I completely welcomed that. When it happened, I was just like, finally, finally, finally. So I can't complain about that. But
yeah.
again,
That's
as I said at the beginning of the show, I don't think there was a one size fits all for
no.
anyone. And while blockers are good for me, they might not be good for you.
They're good
And
for me. They're good for me now. They're not necessarily good for me permanently, is how I would say
mhm,
that.
mhm,
And like, uh, yeah, like,
yeah,
I'm on cyproterone. I'm not on spironolactone. So generally speaking, the side effects of Cypro are not nearly as bad as radioactive helmets. Um, the one thing, the one bad thing that Cypro does is it makes you. It's a depressant. It can make you depressed. I think I'm
mhm,
feeling that a little bit. When I went to Pride, I actually forgot. Like I was going to bring. I was going to be there for 2 nights, so I was going to
mhm,
bring just half a pill. The stuff has a ridiculously long half life. So I was just going to take half a pill on the Saturday, and that would have lasted me until my doctor actually told me I could because I have to quarter these things. Quartering a pill, even with a pill cutter, is freaking annoying.
oh,
Um,
I know.
so what I had to do is so I was just gonna bring half a pill because that was way easier. But I forgot it. I forgot the pills. Or I forgot to have a pill. And I was without the stuff for 2 days. Now, these were well, actually 2.5 days. I got back left on Saturday at noon at about 2. Got back on Monday about 2. And these were really good, 2 really good, really really good days at Pride. But I was also feeling like not just I just had a couple of really good days good. I was feeling like I haven't felt this good ever. Good, and there's something different about this. Now it could have been the person I was there with. There was a lot of things, but I do attribute at least some of it to me having not being on Cypro for a couple of days, because yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's definitely, and I don't have to spend, like, I don't spend very much money on the stuff, but I don't have to spend money on it. I don't, it's hard on your liver, even though I'm only on 12 and a half, even though I'm only on 12 and a half milligrams of the stuff,
Yeah.
it is, you know, not good for your liver. It can cause venous thrombosis in the brain. So I kind of want off of it, and to the more surgical side of things, I will probably never get facial feminization surgery. It's like a very low priority thing. Breast augmentation is completely 100% off the table, in the air, until I'm get where until I see what I can grow naturally first. Like it's something that it's like I'm not even thinking about it, unless it's brought up. So that's not an issue for me. And finally, like bottom surgery, I like, as I mentioned before, my dysphoria is only about what I don't have. It's not about what I do have. And I do have dysphoria down there. And for the longest time, I never thought that I could fix that dysphoria. And like, if I got bottom surgery, at the absolute best, that would solve nothing. I would just have it from the other side instead.
Yeah.
But somebody actually knows this, and tweeted me a surgeon who is basically doing a perinatal pull-through vaginoplasty for people and leaving the penis intact. So now I would need she would need to use my scrotum to make a labioplasty, but I don't care about that, only the contents, so find somewhere safe to put that, and you know, so that I get my tea that I need, and do that for me, please, because for the last year and a half I've said that, you know, this is the minimum acceptable thing for me.
Yeah.
So, and when I actually heard that someone is, like, I heard about this before, someone doing something similar before. Might have even been the same doctor, but it was a different technique that was using a skin graft, and I was just like, fuck no.
Yeah.
No skin grafts. That is not what I want. That is not worth it. But I have to do a little bit more research on the perinatal pull-through. Now that it's actually something that's a reality. It basically uses your body's internal lining to do that. But it's something that I am now having to seriously consider. The only problem is that the doctor's in another country on the opposite side of the continent. Which actually, it'll cost me $600 to fly there with Air Canada, so that's actually not that bad. There and back. That's actually not that bad, but I'm expecting it'll probably cost me about 5 or 6 grand. Now, fortunately, I live in Ontario. My Ontario health insurance plan, aka OHIP, that is the only thing they'll cover, and they're like, yeah, if you don't want to go to GRS Montreal, which is, well, for the longest time has been the only place in Canada, yeah, you can go there. You can go to whoever you want as long as they're qualified, but we're only paying for the surgery. so I will still have to go there, go back. I
Now.
think I can get. I think I can get employment insurance for missing time off of work because I'll probably lose a month of work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I'll need to bring someone with me, so it's a whole complicated thing. But it's gone from a fuck no to a
Yeah.
can I make this reasonably work? I can live without it. But I just would be dysphoric without it. And now that I know about it, all the walls I've put up around that have come down. And actually, I was really, really, really dysphoric for a couple of days after I learned about that. So, yeah. That's.
Yeah, yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, you.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair though, granted, technically we could all live without going through any of this if there was a right concoction of antidepressants and whatnot. Could we live without going through our own individual transitions? Yes, but would it be that quality of life that we would actually want to live is the big thing to it.
I actually don't necessarily agree with. I don't necessarily agree with that. No, I don't think any amount of medications, or especially not antidepressants, will ever be can deal with gender dysphoria, because at a core level, it's your brain chemistry not being right. The only thing that'll fix your, at least the brain chemistry part, the only thing that'll fix that is the right amount of hormones in your brain.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the antidepressants I'm on are a SSRI, so they only fix like serotonin, right? And so like antidepressants target stuff like that, not like.
But when I'm talking,
yeah, you
living,
technically could.
I'm coming more from the
Hey,
medical
let
side.
Kaden talk. Let Kaden talk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say that I honestly don't think I could have. Like, before I came out and transitioned, I tried everything to kill the dysphoria and the incongruence from fundamentally living as someone I'm not, as trying to live as a masculine male. I tried antidepressants. I tried alcohol. I tried weed. I tried escapism. I tried psychotherapy. Nothing would kill that pain. And honestly, if the only option was to stay in the closet and take medications, I don't think I would stick around very long. To be perfectly honest, if I had to live another 50 years as dead name, or if I could die tomorrow, I absolutely would choose to die tomorrow. Life would not be worth living in the closet, pretending to be someone I'm not. I would honestly rather die. And thank gosh that I don't have to make that decision, that I don't have to say that I can't live anymore, that I can actually live as myself, and that I can transition and I can be Kaden and just exist as me. That is so much better than the option of a hellish life in the closet or an early death. I'm so happy that I can just live and be myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in, I guess, an advantageous position where I could probably do without, but I would not necessarily be, it would not necessarily be a very productive or happy life.
Right.
But like a lot of other people are not in that position. There are a lot of people who are extremely dysphoric and basically either need this or they're going to be way worse than I'd ever be, and might unfortunately commit suicide because of it. So yeah, I don't. The only medication that's going to fix it is going to be having the right hormone distribution in the brain, and then um I'm not sure about I'm not sure about some body dysphoria is weird. Um it's not social, but it can be, but it's not. So I just think like for me that why do why are there it for me it's just a woman's issue now. There are, cis women who are small chested who don't like being small chested. Um so I'm small chested, I don't like being small chested. I'm doing what I can to fix that. It's like Jenny said, it's becoming a woman's issue for me, not a trans issue. Now that I'm on the hormones and basically being whatever the fuck I want to be full time, and being out and all that, and I have a lot of acceptance and support with my friends and family. So that also really helps, and people need to like support their trans kids, friends, and other families, because that is the most important thing to our transition.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just that quality of life too. It's like, why
Yeah.
transition? It's like if someone asks me, it's like, why do you transition? It's because I have bodily autonomy and it makes me feel better about myself. So
Exactly.
Right.
yeah.
It's what we need to keep living. It's that, to see the next sunrise, next, whatever, what we need to survive. It's not, oh, hey, I want to do this. It's, I need to do it to be able to accept
Yeah.
what there
Exactly.
is.
Like for me, I want to go to Annapurna and go hiking up to the summit. That's something I want to do, but I don't need that to live. But for me, being Kaden is something that I need to live. Being
Yeah.
myself is something that I need to live. Without it, even if I did not physically die, I would be dead inside. I would be dead on my feet. I wouldn't want to exist. And
Yeah.
honestly, considering the way that dysphoria was before I came out when I was living in the closet, I honestly don't think I would make it very long. Living as a man, living as dead name, I don't think I would make it very long. So this to me is life. This is something that is life saving and life changing for me.
Yeah, it's definitely not life saving for me. Definitely life changing. So I can't really say anything other than, this is something that people need, because that's
Mm,
not exactly my that's not in my experience. But it's absolutely definitely something that people need, and even even uh you could say that even I need it, even
mhm.
though it's not putting my life at risk. But like my it kind of is. Like
Yeah.
like there are medications that people give, to improve quality of life, where someone's life isn't in danger,
Mhm.
because of the condition, but
Mhm.
it's going to allow them to function
Mhm.
properly. Um, Now, as I said, surgery for me is an interesting thing, so that's not like could do. I could do just fine without that. So I don't care in that. It's something that I'll get if I have the chance, but if not, I'm at least happy with what I've got. But then there are people who are very unhappy with what they've got, and also need the surgeries.
Yeah.
Because people are individuals, and people aren't the same.
One thing I wanted to bring up is that we've been on for about 3 hours now. Maybe, well, is it possible to maybe move on to the after show?
Okay, yeah, we can do that. It has been a while, but this is kind of a subject that we all have a lot to say on. Before we do that, I will just ask Scarlett if she has anything that she wants to add, since you've been mostly silent for a lot.
Silence is golden, duct tape is silver.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
that's the golden rule, right? Silence is golden.
Or silver, depending on how you look at it.
And then there's a silver rule.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. I will say that so yeah, I'm actually going to go get a quick drink, do some other stuff. So if we'll be down about 5-10 minutes. If anyone wants to come in to the show, I will leave the live chat for this one open if you want to come into the after show, and then or you can message me on Twitter. I see Purple in here. So if you want to come in, Purple, that is great. I love you. Or if anyone else wants to come in, just let me know somehow. Does anyone have anything they want to plug?
Not exactly plug, but I did just want to say that if you're watching this and you're like in that stage of, I want to do this, I want to transition, but I don't think I can, I'm just here to tell you that you can. Yes, it's tough. You might lose some friends, you might lose some family, you might have to go through awkward bodily changes, you might have to face gatekeeping, but it is possible. You can be yourself. You don't have to live the rest of your life in the closet. So if you're just sitting there watching saying, dang, I wish I could do this, but I don't feel up to it, or I don't feel like it's possible, it is possible. I spent so long thinking that me being myself was impossible, but at one point I just decided I'm gonna just do it no matter what. I'm gonna just do it, and it saved my life and it improved my life so much, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So you can do this.
And
yeah,
one thing I want to say before we go is that one thing I want to be is someone who inspires other people to be themselves. That's one part of my transition goal. Be someone who inspires others. Maybe I'll crack your egg. I'll help you to transition.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of, I guess, become what I've become. Not necessarily intentionally, but yeah, like that's kind of my goal now is just helping people be themselves, because being yourself is amazing.
Indeed.
So, yes, and I have one more thing I want to relate, and that is in 2005, and this has to do with what you said, Kaden. In 2005, I tried to transition, and I've told this a few times, but gatekeeping and transphobia kept me from transitioning. So I thought that it was something that was out of reach for 14 years, and that was pretty hard. And even when it wasn't out of reach, there were other things that would have made it very unsafe for me to transition, or just would have made it not a viable option temporarily for that time. So I did finally have all my walls come down. Well, most of my walls come down. And when this happened, I was in a point in my life where I knew that I could do this. So I jumped on it. And it took me like 2 months to get on hormones, and people have done even faster. It only took so long in reality because it was the Christmas holidays when I started. So we had to, we did a blood test, come back in a month. Here's your. I can't remember. I had one in November, and then I had one in January. So yeah, that is basically all it took. The conversation went from, okay, live a year as a woman, as a binary straight woman, preferably, which I am neither. A hyper feminine binary straight person, which I am none of the above. Live like that for a year, and then we'll talk about giving you hormones. Was what I encountered first. This time the conversation went, to, like, okay, do you have dysphoria? Yep. Okay, good. Here's your scripts. Where do you want me to send them? So things are a lot easier for people now because I've had 2 attempts at this. One was a lot better.
Yeah.
So at that, I'm going to end the stream and give this about 5 to 10 minutes, and we will start a new one. If you're not coming back for the after show, have a good one, eh?